It's really stupid.
It is either a garbage property or it is way overpriced.
Anyone with any level of expertise, or really common sense for that matter, would realize that this is a stupid approach. It is a turd box. Hey everybody, you're kicking it with the homeboys. This is another episode of Moron Real Estate. We are calling out whether it is legit or it's bogus. My name is Clint Wetherill, here with my buddy, Scott Adams. You ready to do this?
Let's dive in.
Let's go.
You know, to really be in real estate, you got to live it, you got to breathe it, you got to eat it, it's got to be your life. I mean, you can do it on the side, but you're not going to do it on a big level on the side. But, you know, you got to totally throw yourself into the business. And you got to be willing. You know, I used to stay up sometimes all night because I didn't have the money to hire nobody. I physically would paint apartments and stay up all night getting a place ready because I had an inspection the next day. You got to cross the line in life. If you really want to make it and you ain't got a bunch of money, you're not born rich, you got to cross the line. You got to go where nobody else wants to go. You got to work the hours nobody else wants the hours. You know, I neglected my kids when I was young, but I did it knowing that I was trying to benefit them for their future. So yeah, my kids may have missed out on, you know, Boy Scouts or, you know, some of the sports activities or whatever, and I feel bad about that, but in the long run it paid off.
It's wonderful. It's
cool
true.
clip.
You know,
I'd like to know where that guy's at. Seems like a pretty cool backdrop.
He lives in New Jersey. I've seen him before. Yeah, he's kind of a guru type guy, and he has true success. He's truly wealthy, and it's interesting because it's so true to both of our stories, and it can be true to anyone out there that doesn't start with money. Neither of us started with money. We started with negative. I had student loans and negative money, credit card debt, and I started that way, and I worked nights. I would stay up so late pulling comps, looking for houses, and luckily my kids hadn't come along then, so I didn't have to neglect them. I was smart enough or lucky enough to have found the success prior to my kids coming, so that now I have the freedom, the financial freedom, to be with my kids when I want, how I want. In fact, yesterday I didn't even come into the office. My kids were home from being away for 2 weeks, and I took the day off and just hung out with them all day. And the reason I'm able to do that is because of cash flowing real estate that provides a great living for me. Whether I'm working or not, that real estate's always working.
Yeah, that's one way to think of it. Or you have a partner that just takes care of stuff while you're away. But no, I'm totally joking. But no, I sympathize with the story just because, I mean, I was basically a painter for several years, and, you know, he talks about that, and, you know, it takes me back. I have fond memories of it. And much like you, if I was at home, I was combing, you know, the MLS and, you know, foreclosures and trying to find new opportunities. The only thing that I would go against is you can do it if it is not your life. Like he said, you know, we have a lot of clients that we've helped over the years. I mean, I'm working with one guy in particular. He's an executive for a Fortune, you know, 100 company that, you know, his investments have, I mean, he's made a lot of money, and he's sat on the sidelines and let us do what we do. So you can do it, but I understand what he means by large scale. You know, I guess it also, you have to quantify what large scale is. But, you know, I think you can do it if you surround yourself with the right people. It is hard to find the right people. You know, you always count on yourself before you can count on anybody else. I get that, but there are people out there that can help you. But no, it was cool to listen to because I could relate to it so many ways.
For sure. All right, next up.
The way you do this is you start off with a 4-family property, okay? And then you can live in that property for at least 1 year because that is the FHA and conventional guidelines, okay? You hold it for a year, you live into it, and then you have 3 rental incomes that are basically paying for your mortgage and your cash flowing. Now, the next step you have to do in about 12 months, you have to refinance out of that current FHA mortgage if you used it to get 3.5% down, go into a conventional mortgage, and then you go and buy another property, which is going to be your 3-family, okay? And now you use FHA again. So the key to all of this is you have to refinance out of your first deal, out of that first FHA loan into a conventional, so you free up your FHA, you can use it again. And you repeat that process until you get to your single family, which is going to give you the freedom that you guys want, right? So your fourplex is going to pay for itself and your cars. Your threeplex potentially could pay for itself plus your food and your cell phone. Your duplex will pay for itself plus your single family home, and your single family home is free. So that's the idea.
I learned something in that. Before I talk about the things that I don't like in it, I learned something. I didn't even know you could only have one FHA loan at a time. I didn't know that. So I learned something. The thing that he is really missing, this sounds really easy, but how the heck are you going to refi into a conventional loan within months or whatever he said of buying it FHA? Conventional loans aren't going to go to the 97% FHA do, and you're not going to have appreciation in that time. So maybe he has a secret that I don't know about, but
well, it's just such an odd, roadmap.
Yeah.
You have to just try to picture that in our market. All right. You have to go out and buy a 4-family property. One, that's not easy to do. Two, a lot of the ones that are available, especially in this crazy market that we're in, are going to be in the worst of the worst areas. So, and then to refi out, like you said, and be able to pull any kind of cash out or even be able to refinance the debt load is so impossible. And then, as crazy as it is to limit yourself to only a 4-family home, then you got to get crazy again and go into a triplex. Mm-hmm. And then you go from a triplex to a duplex. It's really stupid. And I mean, and really, if there's anyone with any level of expertise or really common sense for that matter, would realize that this is a stupid approach. You go to where the deals are, whether the deal's a single family, a duplex, or a 150-unit apartment complex. You go to where the deals are. Just to roadmap it out, the 4-3-2-1 strategy. Give me a break, dude. It is so stupid, and literally almost impossible to do. If that's what you seek out to do, I mean, it's just crap advice.
You're going to sacrifice good properties in order to force a strange strategy on yourself. I don't care what market you're in. The only market that I know of where this is, you could do a 4-3-2-1 strategy, and I'm sure there's more, but Chicago is the only one that I know of where there are a significant number of fourplexes, triplexes, and duplexes that are worth owning. But even then, finding deals on them is not. There's so many flaws in this. It's just gibberish in a lot of ways.
Well, not to say that you have to live in the property. I get it. If you're young and you don't have a family and you want to live in a multifamily property, okay. But for so many people, that's a really crappy way to live. I personally don't want to live around a bunch of other people. I'm a redneck. I like to have my own space.
You don't want your tenants literally walking across the hall every time they have an issue at 2 a.m. and knocking on your door.
Correct. I mean, it's a crap way to live, and any kind of scalability, it just doesn't make any sense. My last point, one of my biggest pet peeves, we've spoke across the country at different real estate events, and almost every single time we get done speaking, we have people come up to us in droves asking us about, do you have any duplexes or triplexes or quadplexes, because that's what I want to get into. And we tell them the same thing over and over again. The duplexes, threeplexes, fourplexes, anyway up to 8plex, they're owned by, it's either one of two things. They're owned by people that know what they got and they're holding on to it because it's a cash flowing, property. Or two, it is a turd box that nobody's going to make any money on. They're crap. They're in the worst parts of town. Scott says that he knows the Chicago market a little bit, and some of that actually rings true. I know here in Indianapolis it doesn't work, and there's a lot of places just like Indianapolis.
There is no option 3 in most markets. So it is either a garbage property or it is way overpriced because people know what it is and they're holding it. So this isn't realistic in most markets.
I get worked up over the whole multifamily thing.
I know.
People think, I think it's in books. A lot of people read books that say, get into a duplex. You're going to live in one side, or 2 incomes are better than one. and then there's so many other things like, turnover's more, maintenance is more. A lot of times there's only one water meter. It's like people really think about this smaller multifamily. I'm not talking about large apartment complexes. I'm talking about small multifamily. There's a lot of things that it doesn't work. It's harder to make work at a minimum.
It looks really good on paper. They get excited about that. They get excited about the diversity it brings. Because if you have one unit empty, you still have a couple of units that are covering your costs. There's a lot of pluses to it. And because people are shoving this down their throat and trying to sell them this garbage, they don't talk to them about the truth of these things. And these things are nightmares most of the time. Or you're way overpaying because the good ones people don't sell. They hold on to them.
By the way, you and I just bought 3 duplexes to hold, so
we did.
There are good ones out there at the same time.
Yeah.
So anyhow, next.
For those of you who said, I'm going to wait till the market comes down. Oh, Glenda, the market's going to crash. It's going to come down in value. Hello? The interest rate just went up. The price came down, the interest rate just went up. Do you understand what you lost? You lost your buying power. That's the thing that I can't get the consumer to understand. We've got Bobby and Susie over here. A year and a half ago, they're looking at 835. Now, they're at 600. And if the interest rate at 2 o'clock goes up today, when the Fed announcement comes, they may go from 600 down to 500. People think, oh, it doesn't really matter, inflation, interest rates. Oh, I'll still be able to buy because I'm making X number of dollars. Bull, you're not. The prices may come down, but your ability to purchase as the interest rate goes up also comes down.
Our producer who's behind the scenes here filming us, I was explaining to him how that works. With interest rates going up, people's ability to buy goes down, directly correlated. As the interest rate goes up, the amount that they're qualified in order to purchase will go down. It's pretty simple. And that doesn't mean that the whole market is going to crash over this. It doesn't mean that. Do we expect a pullback? Yeah, we absolutely do. Are we pessimists and think that the market's going to take a big drop sometime in the near future? Yeah, we're both pessimists. But we also believe that owning real estate and cash flowing assets is part of what can see you through those tough times when the market does this stuff.
I feel like she's talking about owner-occupant more than she is about investment.
She is. Yeah.
Because I have a little bit different take on it. Everything that she says when you're looking at, owner-occupied, retail real estate is true. So I agree with everything she said, so I don't want to sound like a pessimist to what she's saying. But, in the investor world, cash is king is always, we've heard that through many market cycles. And, cash has not been, cash is always king still. I mean, there were lots of properties that you had to buy cash through this crazy elevator ride. But my point is there's very payment-driven society that we live in. So she's talking about payment and what you're able to
for
afford.
A person in their own home in their own life, not investment.
So
properties.
and people may disagree with me on this. I'm pretty stoked about the interest rates going up. I was ready for the real estate market to cool a little bit. It's hard for us to be able to buy stuff. I want our cash to be more prevalent than it's been. When we buy almost all of our properties in cash, sometimes we put them on, lines of credit or loans or different things. But, she's talking more about a payment-driven society. I think that these interest rates going up are good for investors. I think that that's going to create more opportunities. We're seeing retail homes set for longer than we've seen in a while.
Yeah, I think it's kind of interesting when we evaluate a property, the interest rate is nowhere on our formula, nowhere. Whatever the interest rate, it does not matter. It means nothing to me because we evaluate things based on what they cost to buy and what their returns are. And nowhere in there do I put debt and how much the debt will cost us against an investment property. So for most investors like us, the interest rate means nothing for our properties that we hold. There are a lot of people who buy using leverage or a mortgage. They'll buy. A lot of our clients will get a mortgage on these, and as long as the numbers still work for them, as long as there's still returns, then it doesn't matter. Yeah, does a higher interest rate cut into their returns a little bit? Yeah. But at the end of the day, the numbers are still strong. They still work. Our clients are going to keep buying even with higher interest rates. because these are cash flowing assets that work even with higher interest rates.
But I think it's important to imagine that there's this baseline between retail real estate and interest rates. She's talking about $800,000 homes, and now that their purchasing power is now $500 or $600.
Right.
You know, there's a very strong likelihood that those people that bought at $800,000 that have a 2% interest rate, you know, are going to be in a house that is worth $600,000. That someone is buying the house now at $600,000 at a 5% interest rate. You know, so you see this very, you know, fine line. You know, I believe people have overpaid, especially in the last 12 months, for real estate. Yes, you have a low interest rate, but you overpaid. So where's the happy median? You know, it's hard to gauge. I mean, you have to, you know, no one has a crystal ball. But my point is people getting in at a 5% interest rate in 12 months from now aren't necessarily going to be in any worse spot than the person that paid $800 and got in at 2%.
No, they'll be buying in for cheaper, you know, and the market will adjust. The market always adjusts to the factors such as interest rates. And there's some economists out there saying that some real estate prices will actually be drawn up from the magnet of this, because there will suddenly be a lot more home buyers in the $200,000 to $500,000 price point market. You know, all of those people that we used to be looking at $800,000 homes are now joining some of the first-time home buyers in a market that's already oversaturated with buyers. So there is a sweet spot in there where if you wanted to, you know, if you had a crystal ball and you wanted to roll the dice and try to bet on which properties are going to appreciate even in a crazy market, there's those lower entrance priced homes that a lot of economists are saying the pressure on those homes is going to continue to create appreciation in that sector while everything else drops. Who knows if it's true, but there's an argument to be made for that.
Agreed. All right, cool. Next.
This is how I've been able to buy $40 million worth of real estate without using a dime of my own money in a child's diagram. So what I did, I borrowed money from a private money lender to purchase a distressed property. I borrowed money from that same private lender to rehab said distressed property. So now that the property is fixed up, I got it rented and started collecting rent. Next thing I did, I took the property to a local bank and they gave me a loan to pay back my private lender. I paid him back with the equity that was created on a refinance. Now I owe the bank money, but I take the rent from the renter and pay the bank back. So I'm just using other people's money, and in the end of the day, I own an asset that produces cash and grows in value. You can do this as many times as you want. Follow me, I'll show you how.
Started off, I was scared with where he was going. You know, anytime someone says, I did all this with none of my own money. But it ended with a pretty simple lesson, which is, yeah, you can borrow hard money and fix up a prop to buy it, to fix it up, and then you go to your bank and you refinance that original loan off. Now, caveat there, do not borrow more, do not cash out refi, just borrow enough to pay off your original loan. And if you're doing this right, you should have some equity that's left in that property.
It's not for me.
Right.
I'm not, and I get what the guy's saying. I know lots of people that have done it this way. For me, I talk about it on the podcast, on Moron Real Estate all the time. It's a state of mind. And for me, you know, having enough skin in the game on, say, property 1, and then stabilizing it, and then moving to property 2 with skin in the game, and then moving to property 3, it creates a mindset and a conservative attitude that really safeguards you from any market whatsoever. You know, there's a potential with what he is saying to leverage to the hilt and refi till you die, that if you get into a life situation and you have to get money out or sell, you could get buried. You know, the way that I talk about is not sexy. It's not cool. It doesn't sell as many books as, you know, these gurus, but you are safeguarded in any economic climate.
I know this is going to complicate things, but you could do a mix of what we believe and what he said. And here's how you could do it. You could use hard money to purchase the property. You could use your own sweat and hard work to fix that property up. and then you can refi it when you're done with a normal bank, and you've got a property that you built equity into. If you bought it right, you'll already have additional equity into it. And when you're done with that first one and it's rented, cash flowing, stabilized, then you go to the next real slowly. So you could do a mix of those two. But again, we're talking about pumping the brakes. I don't know. He said he had $40 million worth. That would take you a lifetime to build up doing our way. Will you get to 10 million? Yes. Will he survive the downturns? I don't know, but I know you would if you did it the slow way. Sure, you might only get to $20 million worth of net worth, but if you do it our way, you can do that and survive the ups and downs of the market and almost guaranteed to get there. So you could do a mix of these, the conservative, put in some sweat equity. It's not our way of doing it, but it's a way.
Well, the homeboys target audience is what you just said. You know, if you're looking, you know, to have a net worth of 10 to, you know, $40 million, you know, in through real estate wealth, you know, we've got a lot of amazing strategies. I'm not going to sit here and tell you how to be the next real estate billionaire.
Yeah.
That's not what our show is about. That's not what our message is about. You know, we're wanting to be conservative. We're wanting to be for people not to go bankrupt. We're wanting for people to have longevity in real estate, and we want people to create generational wealth for them and for their families. There's a safe way to do it. It's the 10 to 30, 40, $50 million you know, people out there that want to achieve that level of success. We're not trying to create billionaires. You do have to swing for the fences. There's lots of people that will try to be billionaires that end up being bankrupt. We're not going after that audience. So I think it's very important to note, you know, our target listener is a little bit more conservative, but very stable, very easy to get to if you listen to some of our strategies. Anyhow.
Great point.
Well, that is this week's show for Moron Real Estate. We hope you enjoyed listening to our tips. We're not just fear-mongering out there. We're trying to provide stable, conservative real estate advice. You could do this. Beware. A lot of bad advice. Till next time, happy investing.